evening, all of you, beta. So we will discuss brainstem. So as it was asked by Niharika. So what is brainstem? See here. See the midbrain, pons, and medulla. Three together we call it as brainstem, isn't it? So behind the brainstem we have cerebellum. So between the brainstem and cerebellum, what is this empty space called as? Fourth ventricle, isn't it? So the brain stem is so named because it is connecting the brain to the spinal cord. Okay. So any tract which has to pass either up or down, we know it definitely passes through brain stem, isn't it? So the brain stem parts are midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. So the brain stem, we will see many nuclei are there from where the cranial nerves are coming out. Okay. Now, what are the various cranial nerves coming from each part of brainstem? From midbrain, we have third and fourth cranial nerves coming. From pons, we have fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. From medulla oblongata, we have ninth to 12th. Okay, so all these cranial nerves come out from ventral aspect, except for the trochlear, which actually comes from the dorsal aspect of brainstem. We will see this. Okay. Now see here, beta. So what are the parts of brainstem? You see this picture we have seen when we were doing interpeduncular fossa, isn't it? The anterior border of pons, the optic chiasma, optic tract, this crus cerebri, the posterior perforated substance, mammillary body, stalk of pituitary gland, right? So you are finding this is third cranial nerve, oculomotor. This is fourth cranial nerve, that is trochlear, which is coming from midbrain. Now this is our pons. So from pons 5, 6, 7, 8, this will come. So you can see midbrain, third and fourth. Now from pons you can see fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Okay, these are the four cranial nerves. You can see they are coming. Okay, from medulla oblongata remaining. What are those? We have glossopharyngeal, then we have vagus, then we have accessory, then we have the last one, that is hypoglossal. Okay, that is 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th cranial nerves. Okay, now let us talk about midbrain. So midbrain is also called, is actually embryologically it is derived from mesencephalon. Okay, so in the center of the midbrain we will see there is one cavity which is called as like cerebral aqueduct of Silvius. Okay, which is connecting the lateral ventricle to the fourth ventricle, isn't it? So now anteriorly, see where is our midbrain here? Now see here, this is the midbrain. So anteriorly it is actually related to interpeduncular fossa, like what we have, like I have just shown you. This is the area where we have the interpeduncular fossa, isn't it? So anteriorly we have interpeduncular fossa. Posteriorly, see where is the location of midbrain here? See, this is midbrain, this is pons, this is medulla. So posteriorly, what are we finding? See, this is the splenium of corpus callosum. At this point, we will have great cerebral vein, and then we also have pineal body. Okay, then thalamus is also there. Then on either side of this midbrain, we will see there is a gyrus, that is the parahippocampal gyrus. So it's also related to optic tract. So many details you don't remember, but generally you will get confused. One point you remember. Anterior 1 point, posterior 2 points. Either side, this is enough. Parahippocampal gyrus. The length is only 2.5 centimeters. So whatever you studied under interpeduncular fossa, you write completely under external features. Okay, and in the external features on the posterior aspect, if you remember, we have studied corpora quadrigemina. That is nothing but the dorsal aspect or the posterior aspect of midbrain, where we have two superior colliculi, two inferior colliculi. In between, what is the name of the sulcus? Cruciform sulcus. We know superior colliculus via superior brachium. It is connected to lateral geniculate body, which is concerned with vision. Inferior colliculus through inferior brachium. It is related to medial geniculate body, which is concerned with the mechanism of hearing. Okay, better? That is. Internal features are more important. So basically, one of the section will be asked, either midbrain or pons or medulla oblongata. So generally, any of the section will be asked. So generally, when you take this section of the midbrain, so we generally divide it into the tectum, and then we have cerebral peduncles. Okay, just a minute, better. Hypoxia. Hyperventilation, hypoxia, hyperventilation, the rate of formation. Okay, beta. So basically, we are dividing this midbrain into two parts. What are those? Like we are just taking the. I'll show you one more picture. It becomes easy for you. So this is the central canal, like what we have for spinal cord. It also looks more or less the same, right? So if you just pass a plane from here, we are dividing this into this area like cerebral crus cerebral. Okay, that is the from in on the ventral aspect, and on the dorsal aspect we have tectum. So you have to divide this as tectum, tegmentum, cerebral crus. Okay, don't go with all the labelings. I'll make try to make the labeling simple. First, three basic subdivisions we have. What are those? We have tectum, tegmentum, and cerebral peduncles or crus cerebri. Okay, so that is the three basic things which you should draw. Okay, so which is dorsal, which is ventral is also important. This area is dorsal and this area is ventral. Ventral can be also called as anterior, dorsal can be also called as posterior. Now you read this, you will understand. Tectum is found behind. Okay, so that is line which is drawn through cerebral aqueduct. So that means on the posterior aspect we have tectum. So that on the posterior aspect only, if you remember, we have two colliculi, right? What are those? Superior colliculus, inferior colliculus. So when you take the section of midbrain, one section we will take at the level of superior colliculus, one section we will take at the level of inferior colliculus. So you need to give few gross features when you are writing your answer. So only like few points which you can remember and reproduce in your answer sheet, that only I'm telling. I'm not trying to complicate things. See, in the cerebral peduncles also we have like what are the subdivisions? We have tegmentum. This black area is called as substantia nigra. Substantia nigra can itself be a 3 marks or 5 marks question better, and this area is nothing but cerebral crus. Okay, please remember, I am repeating. On posterior aspect, behind we have tectum. Then on anterior aspect, we have cerebral peduncles. Okay, cerebral peduncles has three subdivisions. That is tegmentum, substantia nigra, and crus cerebri. Okay. So after that, what you should do is, see, we have to take two sections. One is at the level of superior colliculus and the other is at the level of inferior colliculus. This many details I will not tell you and I will not trouble you, beta. Don't worry. So whatever textbook you are following, you can just follow the same textbook and just practice the diagram. Blindly learn the labelings. Okay, so what are the various labelings we have? This is the aqueduct of Silvius. That is the continuation of the central canal of spinal cord. If you come from down, fourth ventricle, cerebral aqueduct. Okay, so surrounding the cerebral aqueduct, whatever we have, that is actually called as periaqueductal gray. Okay, then we have, this is the level of superior colliculus, and we have certain like red nucleus over here. Okay, then this is substantia nigra, and we have three subdivisions in the crus cerebri. Okay, so here you need not remember so many subdivisions. Just learn the well labeled diagram if you have time. One section will definitely come. Among these 7 sections also, if you find, Amma, this is so tough, how can I do? Because it is, sincerely speaking, very much time consuming and you have less time. So if you can spare time, you go with that. And if you feel like it is very tough and I can't do, just leave it. Okay, but a few things which may come, I said, right? So what are those? I said like substantia nigra is important, isn't it? So this area you are finding is substantia nigra. Suppose if substantia nigra comes, what we will write? It's a pigmented layer of gray matter. It is containing extrapyramidal system. We have seen motor tracts, pyramidal tracts we have seen, extrapyramidal tracts we have seen. So this is extrapyramidal system. It contains nerve cells with melanin pigment. Okay, you should write this. That means why it is dark in color. When you see the section, it looks black in color, right? Because it contains skin pigments, melanin pigments. Okay, so dorsal compact part and ventral reticular part. So the this upper part is dorsal part and lower part is reticular part. So we should write few fibers. What are the afferent fibers coming in substantia nigra? The afferent fibers come from motor cortex and corpus striatum. Different fibers will go to spinal cord and red nucleus. Red nucleus. So at the superior colliculus level, we also find red nucleus. Please learn, take the picture or screen record it or whatever. You have to learn these points for substantia nigra. Okay, very important, substantia nigra. Then similarly, there is one more important topic we have in the cut section of midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. This is superior colliculus. Okay, so that is red nucleus. Red nucleus is ovoid mass of again gray matter, like substantia nigra is also gray matter. Then you should write like from where the afferents are coming. They are coming from cerebellum, dentate nucleus, and also from corpus striatum, subthalamic nucleus, substantia nigra. Efferents are going to spinal cord, rubrospinal tract. Okay, these 2 points. One is substantia nigra, you please learn. Red nucleus, you please learn. Okay, the rest of the things you need not learn. You just learn the cross section and give the labelings. Okay, now this section is at the level of inferior colliculus. Inferior colliculus. Again, this is the cerebral aqueduct. Okay, this is periaqueductal gray. Okay, then you are finding the dorsal part is tectum and ventral part is tegmentum. So tegmentum part further subdivided into the same areas, like we have crus cerebri and substantia nigra and the tegmental part. Okay, in the ventral part, we have these three subdivisions. Same names, only the level is changing now. You are cutting the brain at the level of inferior colliculus. Midbrain is cut at the level of inferior colliculus. Cerebral aqueductal gray, periaqueduct. This is aqueduct of Silvius. This is periaqueductal gray. That means gray matter surrounding the aqueduct. Then you have cranial nerve nucleus like mesencephalic nucleus, trochlear nucleus. Okay, these are cerebellar decussations. Okay, you need not give much more details. I will tell you where to study. If you just learn this section and list the labelings, that is also enough. Whatever we are finding in the labelings, midbrain, inferior colliculus, we find spinal lemniscus, we find trigeminal lemniscus. Okay, I'm giving you in a very simple terminology so that you don't miss the answer. Okay, the tracts which are found in the crus cerebrae are frontal,
Ma'am,
spinal, corticonuclear, and opposite. Okay,
ma'am,
like that you represent. Yes, Khurram, tell me.
like how many cross sections are there, ma'am, in this midbrain?
How many?
Cross section diagrams are
Two,
there,
two,
ma'am, in
two,
this mid.
two. Only two better.
Only two we should learn.
And, we are learning whole brainstem, no?
Huh,
Daily you learn one better. Superior colliculus you learn Monday, Tuesday you learn
huh,
inferior colliculus level. Then again for
huh.
Pons also we have two sections. Okay, Wednesday, Thursday you learn. It is
Okay.
sections. Friday, Saturday, Sunday you learn enough. If you keep all
So,
seven sections one day, you will learn. Okay, like
uh-huh.
that you will learn. See here, I'm showing you again.
Okay, ma'am.
You ask me midbrain, how many sections does it have? One section you are taking at this level. What is this? Superior colliculus. One section we are taking here. What is this?
Inferior.
Inferior colliculus. Midbrain has two sections. Then we will take sections at Pons. Pons also has two sections. Medulla has three sections. Altogether, how many?
Okay.
Seven sections we have. Monday to Sunday. You can finish off all seven sections. Daily practice one, it makes your learning easy. One day, all full seven sections, you will go mad. Moreover, same labelings will be there, beta. Will be easy only. Please try. Okay. Then Weber syndrome. So this was the question it was asked by you, right? Isn't it, Niharika?
Yes, ma'am.
So Weber syndrome, what is this? See, lesion of midbrain. That means in the midbrain there is no proper blood supply, because of which you are finding the crus cerebri, substantia nigra, and a part of tegmentum is damaged. This shaded area, beta, this area, you can draw a rough picture and show that this particular part of the midbrain is damaged. You call this condition as Weber syndrome. Okay, so you know, like this cranial nerve which is coming out is oculomotor. So which cranial nerve is damaged here? Oculomotor nerve. Not only that, pyramidal tract, which is one of the motor tracts what we have studied in physiology, that is also damaged. So because of which you will see person will suffer with hemiplegia, because pyramidal tract is involved. Hemiplegia of opposite half of the body, because pyramidal tracts they cross over, we know that fact, isn't it? Now the oculomotor nerve is damaged, hence the person will have paralysis of extraocular muscles, which involves all extraocular muscles except the superior oblique and lateral rectus, because superior oblique and lateral rectus are supplied by fourth and sixth cranial nerves respectively. Okay, so that is Weber syndrome, beta. Okay, so draw this rough picture and give this meaning. What is it exactly? And from the knowledge of physiology, you already know some, like few many more points of hemiplegia. You can add that. From the knowledge of oculomotor nerve also, I have given you clinical anatomy. Those points also you can add here. Okay, beta? Okay. So once you are done with midbrain, now we are moving to pons. Okay, now pons is actually called as bridge, which is connecting midbrain to medulla oblongata, isn't it? It is present between midbrain and medulla. So this is called as a bridge. Okay, so it is actually transferring the information between spinal cord and the higher centers in the brain. Okay, so now gross features which are very simple, you can easily remember and write better. Just look at this. This bridge is nothing but pons. Length is, again, this is also 2.5 centimeters. This surface is ventral surface, what we are seeing. The other side, what we see, floor of fourth ventricle, we see, no, that is the dorsal surface. But this is what you are seeing now is ventral surface. Okay. So when it is convex in all direction, you can see it is striated. Are you finding lines, 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 lines? So that is the meaning transversely striated. Okay. So it has vertical basilar sulcus. This is basilar sulcus. Can you guess why do we have this? Basilar artery, what we see in circle of Willis, which is formed by the joining of right and left vertebral arteries will join to form basilar artery. Actually, basilar artery is resting here, because of which this sulcus is produced. You call it as basilar sulcus or basilar groove. Okay. So dorsal surface is hidden by cerebellum, isn't it? Because there you will see floor of fourth ventricle is formed. Okay. So I said, right, dorsal surface forms the upper part of the floor of fourth ventricle. Okay. Then laterally it is continuous with middle cerebellar peduncle. If you remember, I told you the brainstem, like midbrain, pons, and medulla has connection with cerebellum via cerebellar peduncles. Midbrain gets connected via superior cerebellar peduncle. Pons gets connected via middle cerebellar peduncle. Medulla oblongata gets connected via inferior cerebellar peduncle. Isn't it? That is. So this is the superior border beta. Which cranial nerves are coming? This is third one, oculomotor, and fourth one is trochlear. Then inferior border. This is our inferior border. So this is sixth, seventh, eighth. Sixth, seventh, eighth. Sixth is abducent, seventh is facial, eighth is vestibulocochlear. Nothing but auditory. Okay. So this is posterior aspect, what we have studied in floor of fourth ventricle. That means when you cut this, both the surfaces are shown simultaneously. This is ventral surface of pons. This is dorsal surface of pons. Dorsal surface can be also called as posterior surface. So this is stria medullaris, I told you. Above stria medullaris, whatever area is there, that is nothing but pons. Below stria medullaris, whatever area is there, that is medulla oblongata. So floor of fourth ventricle is contributed by both pons above and medulla oblongata below. So what do we find here? We will find like there is midline central sulcus. These are facial colliculi, facial colliculus, isn't it? This is superior fovea, and this is the area is vestibular area. Whatever labelings we have studied for floor of fourth ventricle, the same thing you write here, but 100% same points. Okay. Now, pons also we take two sections. First section is
Pons and fourth ventricle are same, ma'am.
100% same, Niharika.
Okay.
Posterior aspect of pons is nothing but fourth ventricle only.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Posterior aspect of medulla oblongata is nothing but fourth ventricle only, beta. Okay. Understood?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Upper half of fourth ventricle is contributed by pons. No, that's why same points you will write there. Lower half of fourth ventricle is contributed by medulla. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That is. So then we have to take sections now. So we are taking section upper pons and lower pons. Lower pons we are taking at the level of fascia. I'll show you better. See, this is upper pons. One section you like for midbrain, I said superior colliculus, inferior colliculus, right? Similarly here, upper pons, lower pons. What are these elevations? Facial colliculi, isn't it? So lower pons is important because it has facial colliculus better. Okay, what is facial colliculus? This blue in color nerve is facial nucleus and red in color is abducent nucleus. So you are finding the facial nucleus is actually coiling and winding around the abducent nucleus to move towards the trigeminal nerve. When we study nerve supply of face, sensory nerve supply of face comes from trigeminal, motor nerve supply, movements of face will come from facial. So facial and trigeminal both are supplying face. That's the reason this facial nerve will try to move towards trigeminal nerve. It's moving away by making a bend over the abducent nucleus. So this bend itself will produce that elevation that is called as facial colliculus. And this
Ma'am, this
is called as neurobiotaxis. Movement of facial nerve towards trigeminal nerve is neurobiotaxis. Yeah, please ask now.
ma'am, this trigeminal nerve, it is a branch of some nerve, ma'am, or individual nerve? This is.
Trigeminal is individual nerve, beta. It is fifth cranial nerve. Trigeminal is fifth cranial nerve. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Trigeminal will be supplying face. Most of the face. Sensory supply. Somebody pinches you, hurts you, you will get pain, no? That is because of trigeminal nerve. You are doing certain facial expressions. How is that possible? By this nerve. Seventh nerve is facial nerve. Okay. So that means face is supplied by both nerves. So now this actually, this facial nerve is trying to move towards trigeminal nerve by making a bend over abducent. That is producing the elevation. That's what is called as facial colliculus. I'll show you facial colliculus again. See, this elevation is facial colliculus. Okay, facial colliculus. So this is produced by underlying facial nerve nucleus. It is just making a turn over abducent nucleus and moving towards trigeminal nerve. Okay, so this bending of this facial nerve over abducent nucleus is causing this elevation. This elevation is facial colliculus. This is facial colliculus. Is it clear? Khurram?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Clear, ma'am.
Okay, so this when this mechanism is neurobiotaxis. Neurobiotaxis. That means attraction of one nerve towards another nerve is neurobiotaxis. Okay. So like that you have to practice two sections. This lower part of Pons is important because many examiners will have fancy for this facial colliculus because it is bending and coming out, no? That mechanism, like this is quite interesting, no? That's why lower part of Pons is important. One more section we have is at the upper part of Pons. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday over, like daily one section you learn, it becomes easy for you. Okay, then remaining other structures you don't learn better. Whatever is given in labelings, you just give the list of it, that is enough. Okay, because this is all very much complicated and not required also. Just remember it. Now see here, beta, this is blood supply. Now I told you this is basilar sulcus, right? That means this is pons, this is midbrain, this is medulla oblongata, isn't it? So you are finding this area is having basilar artery. So it is giving many horizontal branches. So those are nothing but pontine branches. Apart from that, we have anterior cerebellar artery, inferior cerebellar artery, superior cerebellar artery. Okay, all these arteries are actually supplying the pons. Okay, that is. So apart from that Weber syndrome, there may be a question like Miller-Gibbler syndrome also, beta. So what does it mean? That means here pons are not getting proper blood supply because of the blockage of any of these blood vessels. Okay. So what is happening here also? This much particular area of the pons is gone. It's not functioning. So partial or complete paralysis of opposite side of the body, that is nothing but hemiplegia, because pyramidal tracts, we know they are passing from midbrain, pons and medulla, isn't it? So paralysis of lateral rectus muscle of same side, because which cranial nerve is damaged? LR6. 6 is abducent. So this is our abducent nerve which is damaged. Okay, in Miller-Gibbler syndrome, hence person will have like paralysis of the lateral rectus muscle. Okay, then lesion of even this is our facial nerve. Lesion of emerging facial nerve also So ipsilateral lower motor neuron type of paralysis. Ipsilateral means same side the facial muscles will not be working. Okay, that is ipsilateral lower motor neuron type of facial paralysis. Okay, even fifth nerve, that is trigeminal nerve, also may be damaged, and because trigeminal is damaged, it is causing like muscles of mastication may not work. Do you remember the names of muscles of mastication? Masseter, medial pterygoid, lateral pterygoid, and temporalis. All are supplied by the
Third
trigeminal
cranium.
only, isn't it? So medulla oblongata, we will have three sections better, medulla oblongata. So now when you see from outside, it has two elevations which are called as pyramids, and these two elevations are called as olives. Okay. So like it is lying in the posterior cranial fossa. Overall, the shape is pyriform and the length of medulla oblongata is 3 centimeters. Okay. Then we know like it is forming on the dorsal aspect, it is forming the lower half of the fourth ventricle, isn't it, Peter? Then external features. See, this is external features. Now see, this is the ventral aspect, which is also called as anterior. Link may go, I will send immediately, please join. So this sulcus in the midline, you call it as anterior median fissure. It's labeled also. Anterior median